And we're live and back. What's up, guys? It is Monday, and it's Miscellaneous and Brown Monday, and I am Erick Esteban here with my co-host.
What's up? It's Chris Mateo.
And we got a lot to talk about today, Chris. I mean, just the news of the day. Apparently, the president is now a king and has full immunity to do what he wishes. So I feel like we should advise Biden to aim whatever strategic nuclear weapons are in the area of Trump, and we should just go ahead and fire away. I think that's what we should do today.
I think so. Yeah, I think that. I mean, you can't really. I mean, just after a decision like this, after knowing he's got this immunity, I don't even know if these nuclear weapons will touch him, or if the Supreme Court will stand in front of it and block it for him. Right?
I mean, Teflon Don for real, man. Well, and let's explain that they didn't necessarily give him immunity, because that was the question for this decision, was whether Trump had immunity in as far as his actions during January 6th, right? And they didn't. They tried to define the actions. So in that definition, and they asked for that definition from the lower court judge. I think Cannon is the judge, right?
Yeah.
In the lower court, they're saying that she should determine what's a presidential action and what's not a presidential action, and what has presidential immunity and what doesn't, which is just let's just pour this crazy glue into the works and stop this from happening before the election, and stop this from going to trial before the election. It was just a delay. Just a delay. And, we said it in the pregame. It was like, Martin Luther King, justice delayed is justice deferred. And it really does kind of suck, because we have a MAGA SCOTUS, is what I kind of called them, is that MAGA 6, that all 6 of the SCOTUS that voted for this decision, Chevron, Dobbs. I mean, it started with Dobbs, but, after Dobbs, you heard Clarence Thomas say that, I said Clarence because that's his name. It's not Clarence, it's Clarence, because he's on sale. So, but, no, but, when he said it, he's like, we're going after, contraception. We're going after gay marriage. This is just the first. And then that Chevron decision basically they're the expert and ultimate arbiter of everything that's legal and healthy and good, and I guess whatever. They're the final say on all that shit, which is that Chevron is even more scary to me than Dobbs. Chevron is the scariest because it basically just makes them, but it also for me as Chevron, it gives the court, or it not even gives the court, it gives Congress and it gives the president full and justification to expand the court, because there's no way, according to Chevron, right? According to Chevron, and the fact that they are now the determinant factor in all these different, because it eliminates the federal experts from the decisions. Right. And so it eliminates expert decisions. So the Supreme Court is the ultimate arbiter of all these decisions now. But now the ultimate arbiter of all these decisions is going to have a case docket like they never believed, because there's going to be so many different, arbitrations and legal lawsuits because of these things, because now everybody's going to try and make their money off of this stuff. Because at the end of the day, deregulation is just, corporations' justification to poison you. That's really what it boils down to, or profit from your demise. I mean, it sucks. They can put this chemical in here and this chemical in here. I mean, there was just a article in the LA Times talking about how there was pesticides from China in cannabis, in legal cannabis and regulatory cannabis here. And I'm like, and then come to find out when you do more research that they were getting bootleg brand name. They were taking brand names and imitation brand names and saying that they were they had pesticides from China when they were actually bootlegs from China, and they weren't from the brand names in California. And so they didn't even verify their sample size and the actual. It's very suspect. Not to mention, if LA Times is going to put something behind a paywall, but it's a public health risk, also makes me a little suspect.
Yeah.
Just saying, if it's really a public health risk and you're really concerned for the health of this poison that's in recreational cannabis, then why you got this article that would benefit all of us behind a paywall?
Yeah.
And I get it. Everybody got to make their money, but there are other articles on LA Times that don't have a paywall, and they're free to read and do whatever you want with them. But the one that you want to spread got a paywall on it. So anyway, it gets to a point with all of this, whether it be the debate, and the unfortunate performance that Biden had, or just it's almost, you have to almost invite the cynicism almost, it's hard to remain optimistic in this climate, because people didn't realize that when we lost the Supreme Court, when 2016 was such an integral election, because we knew that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was going to be, she was in her 80s at that point. If it were up to me, I would have hopefully, and hindsight being 2020 is whatever, but McConnell, I don't know that McConnell would have allowed it even if she wanted to retire, because remember, he was saying, he wasn't going to allow. That's why we have Gorsuch, because McConnell, I guess you could, I don't even know what that move was, because there's no rule in it in the Senate. There was no precedent for it. He just made it up and ran with it, and everybody let him do it. And I think it's the same for all of this stuff. And I think it's the same for this stupid storyline at post debate talking about we're going to replace Biden, when there's no context for it. There's no precedent for it. And any kind of precedent for it was catastrophic for the Democratic Party. If you want to talk about the time when the convention had a riot in Chicago, we don't want to repeat that history. So, it's basically a cable news, keep you watching content type topic for me at the end of the day, because it's just ridiculous. It's not even a feasible argument. The only real way that he would have to decide to step down, and then it would, the logical and most feasible candidate would be Kamala, if that were to happen. And I think that would be something that would be within the executive branch that they would talk about. If that was something that was going to happen, we might hear about something like that. We have time, so that might happen depending on how it goes. But the way Biden responded the day after the debate, I really feel like, as a performer, as a person on stage, I believe that format structure, I believe the way the moderators were not pushing back on anything from either candidate, which almost made them not even a moderator. They were just asking. You might as well have had a computer there spouting out questions rather than an actual moderator that was moderating.
It was a forum more than it was a debate.
And then the way that it was structured, I feel like Biden looked over prepared. You know what I'm saying? Like, he looked like he was trying to make sure that he said the right line at this moment, because he was so over rehearsed. And then you got to remember, the guy's 81, and now you're running him ragged in debate rehearsal. Now I don't know. I feel like he was over prepped, and I worry that is, you got to remember that this guy's 81, and that's kind of what they got to embrace about this campaign is, Biden can still be America's grandpa and save us from the demon, Yeah.
But at some point you want to make sure that, you're not feeding grandpa too much and trusting that he knows what he needs to do also. Right. And so
he already knew what to do, like, who are we talking about here? Like if we had just allowed, if there was no prep at all, I feel like if you just let Biden just go and let Biden be Biden in that debate rather than so rehearsed and so contained, I feel like he would have destroyed him, because Trump gave him so much opportunity to destroy him throughout the whole debate. I mean, lie after lie after lie after lie after lie. I mean, and it lies that even his followers don't even believe anymore. Like everybody knows that he had sex with a porn star. Come on. Everybody knows that. We unfortunately know even what the shape and size of his mushroom is. You know, I mean, it's according, thanks to Jimmy Kimmel. When actually, no thanks, Jimmy Kimmel. Can't ever get that picture out of my head now. Thanks, Jimmy Kimmel. Especially they had when, did you ever see that sketch when he had Stormy on and he had the model, the models, and he had the different. So is it this shape or this size? And then she picked out this small little nub of a mushroom, and I'm like, oh my god.
Oh my God.
I can't get that picture out of my head now. It's the same thing with between Jimmy Kimmel and that model, and then also I have to say the comic why am I spacing out on his name? What is his name? Anyway, I was listening to this comedy podcast, and they were talking about the whole Diddy situation.
Uh-huh.
And they played the leaked audio of Meek Mill and Diddy having relations, let's say.
Oh, wow. This just came out?
Yeah, Godfrey. I was listening to Godfrey's podcast, and he's talking about it, and he's like, oh my God, Meek is gay and Diddy's gay, and here go the audio. No warning, no nothing. And I will never forgive him for that, because I will never be able to get that audio out of my head, because now I can't listen to Meek Mill anymore. Not that I'm listening to Puffy anymore. We take him off he's been deleted from the playlist, but I can't even listen to Meek anymore, because every time I listen to a Meek song, all I hear is that audio. And for real, cheeks, like cheeks, gross cheeks, and Diddy going to town. It is disturbing. And now even when I'm talking about it, I'm hearing it again in my head, and it's let's just switch the topic, Chris.
Well,
I'm sorry.
you also provided.
I'm sorry that I digressed to the Diddy topic.
Man, I don't even know how to segue away from that. You were praising me last time for being able to segue, but now it's just.
Well, here, let me help you. Look,
you provided.
There's a lot going on in our society, and a lot that's going on in our society wrong. But I think that, when you think about the big presidential election and you think about the big picture of it, you almost get overwhelmed by it all. And I feel like the message of this podcast, and like the war cry of this podcast is all politics is local, right?
Yes.
And Tip O'Neill was the first guy who coined that phrase, the guy who was bipartisan with the devil himself, Ronald Reagan. That's who I believe was the one who started all this garbage. But Tip O'Neill talked about how all politics is local, and he's right. So I feel like I was listening to Pod Save America, and they had a guest on it, and I wish I took this audio, and we can actually pull it up and grab the audio and put it in the podcast. But either way, I was listening to Pod Save America, and they had this guest on that was talking about how normally in a presidential election, there's presidential coattails for local politicians and Democrats or Republicans who are endorsed by the candidates. Obviously, Trump has thought that he's had, presidential coattails in 22 and he's got his butt whooped every time. Let's not forget about Herschel Walker, the candidate from Georgia. What was he talking about? Vampires and werewolves and all this other. Okay, but like you can have a local candidate who has state or local candidate that has presidential coattails and grabs onto them in their candidacy. But she was talking about how there could be, especially in this election, because of how there was a resurgence of new progressive young politicians, like here in Burbank with Mayor Nick Schultz and Vice Mayor Nikki Perez, who are going to be on the show this week, hopefully, fingers crossed. I confirmed with them July 5th that they might be coming to the house and we're going to meet. But like, we got local politicians that are people who are actually affecting your life, like making decisions that are affecting your life. And if you build and get a relationship with these people and their campaigns and get excited about their candidacy, you just, it's almost like a coattails in reverse, where you're so excited about your mayor or your state assemblyman or your local state senator or whatever it is, like in Jessica Coloza or Isabel Jurado in cities, you know, or even Robert Bulatow up north, you know, all these people, you know, all the people that you've referenced, and you can go into that. I know you wanted to talk about a mayor that, but they are people that are making decisions that affect you. And they are people that their decisions that are literally affecting your kids at school boards, and, you know, all these things. And these local politicians is almost like, so what this lady was saying on Pod Save America was that there was a reverse, because so many people are getting excited about their local candidates that it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to vote for Biden too, but I'm really excited about my mayor, or I'm really excited about my city councilman, or I'm really excited about I'm really excited about Isabel Jurado because she's going to be the first Filipina on LA City Council, or, you know, all these different things that are getting people involved because of local politics. And it can swing momentum back towards Biden to the national politics because it's all the same ballot, you know?
Yeah.
And very few people split ballot. Very few people split ballots. And so, like, it's almost like that can be like a clarion call for this podcast, is that everybody, you know, you can get involved with the Biden campaign, or maybe even a Senate race in your state, or, you know, a congressman or congresswoman running for office for the House of Representatives. But you can also have a state Senate office, and there's probably a House of Representatives in your state that has representatives running in your district. And, you know, find those people and attach yourself to those people, because those people want, they may or may not want an endorsement from Biden, depending on the climate of your district and or area. But if they doing and working towards the stuff that you believe in, those are the people that are going to affect you the most. So get involved with their campaign.
I mean, you're looking at you're voting up and down the ballot. You're looking at people that align, maybe through party, but otherwise you're looking at it who's actually values aligned, right? And anything that you're doing politically, you can say like, oh, I like this person, they're fine and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, where you're looking for your values, you're not looking at the values at that national level, because you're probably never going to meet these folks, and that's fine. But when you get in front of a mayoral candidate, like I did this weekend, and you're hearing them say things like, I am looking at this race from a public health perspective. I'm looking at, yes, the Supreme Court just ruled this grants pass ruling that basically makes homelessness illegal and criminalizes our unhoused individuals in the city. And this candidate turns around and says, well, let's look at it from the public health perspective. You have these individuals that, sure, they get arrested. Sure, they get, thrown to jail. They have a place to sleep at night for what, 2 nights? You get them back on the streets afterward because we can't pay for them to be there. They're back out in the streets without their belongings. No one has taken care of their mental health, and they're on the streets, and then someone else is going to report them, and it's the same vicious cycle. Whereas we could have easily put the same amount of money towards housing them and then taking care of them like decent human beings with dignity. That's the type of political candidate I'm looking to align, because 1, that's the person that I align with, but 2, they're going to be affecting a city that she's not going to be in my city, but right next to the city that I live in, a city I used to live in, a city where I raised my child for 6 years of his life. And if I knew that there is somebody who is running this city in the same way, he would have had 10 times more than what he did have. And fortunately, he did have a lot, but he also had classmates and students that would go home hungry, that would have to stick around afterward and have after school programs, because we had city officials that were like, no, let's cut these youth programs. And now where are we? We've got like exponentially more kids in gangs that are just in this lifestyle, in this system, whereas we could have easily been putting money towards things that could have made them productive members of society, right? And so this person that's running, I'll just give her a quick shout out if that's okay. But
Of
it's
course.
Dr. Flo Jean Kofer. She's running to be the first Black woman mayor of Sacramento. She's going up against a current assembly member who's half Black, half white, and he's done some good stuff, but he's also been in politics for a while. She has not been. She's a public health official. She runs an organization basically called Public Health Advocates. She's a doctor. She's an epidemiologist, and she's just this amazing human being with so much empathy for people that she's taking this lens and saying, as mayor, as public officials, if we took some time to say, like, how are we going to help them instead of what's in it for me? How am I going to look good? And all this other BS that's out there, maybe we can have a decent society. And it is going to start locally. So back to what you're saying, what you've always said, what this podcast screams out all the time, all politics is local, because once you see that firsthand, that's going to inspire you to say, who's next, who's up the ballot that's going to do something similar, hopefully the same, but something just better, because we deserve better, right? And
Well,
so,
and in a lot of ways, it'll be that almost progressive. I don't want to parallel it, but the Tea Party movement, because that's what the Tea Party movement. That was Barack Obama's the unfortunate contribution to the racist movement in America was when Barack Obama got elected. The Tea Party was ignited, and that was blatantly racist, but nobody pointed it out, up to and including when you would point it out, they would say, no, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really a lot of gaslighting as far as when it comes to American racism, so much so that it gaslighted us to the point where we thought that Trump couldn't get elected. Because I know that I thought that came as a surprise to me. And that was one of the first times in my political life that I was surprised when he got elected, because I really thought that Hillary was going to win in 2016. And that was between 2000 and 2016. To me, those two, and in both cases, the Supreme Court is sticking their nose in it. But in both cases, those two presidential elections were so consequential in this country. Like, I want to live in the multiverse where in 2000 Al Gore won, because if you watch Inconvenient Truth now, it's actually frightening because of how accurate it is.
Yeah.
It's and then people forget about that Inconvenient Truth movie that won an Oscar. And he, basically revitalized his whole thing after losing to Bush with that. And nobody listened, or we maybe listened, and I don't know, because I saved the DVD. It came in paper. Remember, it was a paper. I bought the DVD to support, and I still have it. And I watched it the other day, and that shit is terrifying, because everything is now happening. The relocation of populations because of climate and lack of opportunity and lack of fertile soil and all the other things, versus and the just lack of land because now it's water, and it's scary to think about all the things that they were predicting in the Inconvenient Truth are now coming true. And had we, I remember that Saturday Night Live sketch, I think it was recently, where they had Al Gore, and it was that universe where Al Gore had won, and they were like, we're trying to fight back the glaciers. I know that they're eating up Canada now because they're all frozen, like all the different things that were so good about society. And I feel like, yeah, I mean, there have been a lot of consequential elections, but like the big three in my life were 1980 with Reagan, George W. Bush, and then of course 2016, where the whole game was flipped, where you're like, yeah, stupid reality show, game show hosts who bankrupted casinos in the 90s when everybody could throw a dartboard at a stock portfolio and make $1 million in internet stock. This motherfucker bankrupted casinos, which is basically a business where people hand you money, and he still couldn't run it right. Like, I don't even know how you justify within your brain that this guy is suitable for any kind of office. I mean, he can't even do business in New York anymore. He owes $400 million in New York because because of business fraud and tax fraud in New York. And then he's a rapist, adjudicated rapist with Eugene Carroll. And then he didn't have sex with a porn star, but he paid her $100,000 to not say that he didn't have sex with her. How does that even make sense, homie? None of their lies don't even make sense anymore. And I almost, you hope that the polls are crazy and it's just one of those things where maybe it's still telephone polls, or which I think are so, if that's the way they're going with it's like a dial-up type of, like, I don't know, because you may be able to answer that question better because you've been involved in campaigns, but how is this polling, how are these polls determined? Do you know how they put them together, or what are this, who are people who participate in these things?
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is, like, I mean, when you're participating in these, it's not like your civic duty, right? So you're going to already get the people that, what are their motivations to even be part of these polls, right? And that's not all of them, but for the most part, like, you're going to get the ones who are just like, all right, this is what we're paying. How can you guys be participatory in this? And then the hope is that they're getting a good scattering of the population, nice even divide, and seeing like who's being represented. But realistically, it's like, how are they going to be recruited? Who's going to do it for what reason? And it's not the clearest thing. I mean, if you wanted to get like the most even, whatever, like as you're getting called into your civic duty, right? If you're getting called in for jury duty, right? Why don't you like answer a few questions here and there, because you're already obligated to be there, right? And so when you do show up, you are just a citizen that's been asked to help out in some way. So while you're there, why don't you fill out some of these questions and get a better understanding of what you're trying to do? Just one way, but then just again, in answer to your question, like, why is it the way it is? Like, why wasn't it accurate? And a lot of things are accurate, and that's fine. That's all well and good, but that's not all of them. And we're drawing our numbers from places that are not the same, not consistent, and not the people that you really want answering these questions sometimes. And that's enough to skew just everything, and enough for people who want it to be the answer that they want. That's what they're going to be using as their poll, right? And so we're looking at the extremes there. We're looking at the strategies behind it, the motivations, who's getting paid for what, like those types of things are the ones that really skew the information that we need to make informed decisions. And unfortunately, a lot of times that's not the case. Most of the time now.
Man, it's just, it really boggles my mind because first, number one, I believed the polls in 2016. And then if you'd have believed the polls in 2020, it was going to be a lot, and it still was close, but it would have been a lot closer than it was.
Yeah.
And again, these neck and neck things, it's almost like it's the exact story that the media wants for you to keep watching. It's always going to be neck and neck. It's always going to be neck and neck. But really, if you took a real poll of real people online, I don't know. That said, I was just in a show in San Diego and didn't realize that I was talking to a Republican until he said, "Are you a Democrat?" And I said, "Yeah, I grew up in Chicago and my mom worked with Michelle Obama. I'm a Democrat. I'm a capital D Democrat." And we can just agree to disagree, my friend, because you're about to see a comedy show and you paid to see it, and I'm not about to chastise you before the show.
Yeah. Hey, so real quick, while we're on that topic, well, where did you see him at? Were you at some type of show or hosting something this weekend?
San Diego, mic drop comedy, Ube World, sold out to the capacity, oversold. Congratulations to Mikey Perry, the host of that show. And like it was really a nice thing for me because Mark Bond from Chicago and Leah Ava from Chicago were there, and Mitch Narito hosted. So it was really a reunion of the Philam Comedy Jam in Chicago and my second special filming of Unemployable that we still are waiting for 4x3 Productions to finish the edit. But at the same time, I don't care. I'm not pressuring them. It's just, you know, it is what it is. But it was a reunion of that from a few months ago, but we were in San Diego and the house was packed, and it was a lot of Filipinos, and it was a really receptive crowd. People were taking pictures with us, and, you know, it was really a wonderful, supportive crowd. And San Diego was always I'll be in San Diego the whole month of July. I'll be there. I'm there the 7th, again, back at Mic Drop for a cannabis show. And then I'm back for the 13th hosting the Phil Am Friendship Festival. And then I'm back again the 28th for the next Ube World, because Ube World's coming back again. So there'll be another Ube World. Okay. And then I think that's it in San Diego for now. But yeah, I'm in San Diego a lot. I love San Diego, man. And the Filipinos in San Diego are great. It's just, you know, it's Orange County, and it's southern California. So there's a lot more conservatives down there. It's less progressive than Los Angeles, for sure. But it also teaches me how to tell jokes to those people and make those people laugh too, which is a thing that, you know, I want to do. I'm not trying to, you know, maybe you disagree with some of the stuff we say in this podcast, but if you can tolerate the sound of my voice and the sound of Chris's voice, and you like us and, you know, enjoy the conversation, then keep listening and keep, you know, keep enjoying. And maybe we can convince you otherwise, or we can find some common ground, because that's really what it's all about at the end of the day, is finding common ground with whoever you can find common ground with. Now, like Proud Boys, you know, any kind of like racist, any kind of, you know, fundamentalist Christian person that's trying to, you know, tell my daughters how to control their bodies, or my wife how to tell her what to do, or my mom, or any female, any, you know, listen, I think who was it? Only God made, Tupac said something about God made women and gave them the ability to create one. So you can't give man any chance to, you know, I can't, I'm misquoting it, because I can never remember hip hop lyrics very well, except for like Not Like Us and Euphoria, which I've listened to multiple times. I'm still trying to write that rap, man. I'm not sure if it's going to be on Not Like Us, because it's definitely a better spoof. And Taraji P. Henson just did I
was just going to say, I just saw that at the BT Awards.
She just did it. She did a little spoof. So I was like, okay, Taraji, I see you. So I got to do it. But I feel like Not Like Us is the better spoof, because I won't change the chorus. Because, oh man, and yesterday at the show, I kind of expanded on the whole Tagalog Kurt thing.
Oh.
And I told everybody to pull out their phones. And I'm like, if you're following him, unfollow that motherfucker right now. Unfollow him right now. Let's start a movement. Local politics. Politics is all local. And unfollow Tagalog Kurt. Unfollow all the culture vultures of Filipino culture. All the Rachel Dolezals of our culture. Unfollow all those dudes who are the only word I can ever say is cooning out our culture. That's really what it is, because that's all it is.
What was it? Did we say it? One of the other episodes, you've been draked. You've been draked.
Stop draking us, man. Stop draking us. Stop Camilo Cabelling us. Cabello. Like, that's the worst move he could have done. He did a song and did a feature with a known racist after they called you a culture vulture and a colonizer. Not a good move, homie. Not a good move.
Did you see the reel where somebody had pointed out all his different accents? Like, which Drake do you want today? Do you want the New York Drake, the Canadian Drake? For some reason, there was like an Irish Drake. Like,
there's a Jamaican Drake. There's a Drake that does a stupid good wheezy Lil Wayne impression. Here's what people don't realize this, okay? And I realize this now after, like, Drake's, like, there was an EP that I really liked, Too Far Gone. Like, that was a great album, because that was truly just Drake, his sound, like his R&B mixed with rap, poppy kind of sound. And Lil Wayne told him, if you'd have stayed Canadian, you'd be fine. If you'd have stayed, even Kendrick, you know, I like Drake with the melodies. I don't like Drake when he act tough. If he'd have stayed in that lane right there, Too Far Gone, even Take Care, like his first 2-3 albums, you'd have a beautiful career and people would thought you were a brilliant artist.
Yeah.
But instead, you wanted to be something else, and you wanted to do something else, and you wanted to stay hot and stay relevant instead of staying true to yourself. And now you're where you're at. That's really what it's a cautionary tale. Drake is a cautionary tale to me, but it's also, it's a mirror and a parallel to our society right now, because everybody's coming. Kat said it, man. Kat said it, and that Shay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real honest with you, Chris. I almost delayed our interview today because Club Shay got a new episode out, and it's with Shannon and Miss Meg the Stallion.
Oh wow.
And I wanted, because normally I just listen to Club Shay. I just listen. It's like a podcast for me. Even I just listen to it, the audio. But this particular episode, I decided I wanted to watch it.
Okay.
See it, with my eyes. I wanted to watch it and see.
Experience it. Yeah.
Experience it. Yes. Yeah. Experience it. And I'm actually halfway through, because I got caught up watching this in-depth interview with Meg the Stallion that I was watching with my eyes. And I almost delayed our interview because I was late. I was watching it and I was like, oh, he's here. Oh shit, I gotta meet him. StreamYard. I was captivated. I was enveloped by my eyes.
Right on. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of it after we're done here.
No, but that's the pop culture aspect of our podcast, right? We talk about politics, we talk about pop culture and how it relates to each other, but then again, like, I love that you shouted out that mayor. Say her name again. Who and where's she running?
Dr. Flojan Kofer, and she's the Sacramento mayor. So yeah, look out for her. Very progressive. She's been endorsed by socialist Democrats, but she's been endorsed by the Working Families Party. So she's like very progressive, but very, very, very intelligent and just focus on public health and what that means as an elected official, because those two should always go hand in hand. You're looking out for the public. If you really believe that, their health is number one, because our most underserved, most vulnerable people, the elderly, the young, the disabled, whomever, these are the folks that you're just, if they're not taken care of, what do they say in the race of life? Like, you're only as fast as your slowest team member, right? And you want to make sure that they're taken care of. And if we're leaving them behind, what are we really doing? And so that's not a quote from her. That's my perspective.
And to all those Christians out there, however you treat the least of my brothers is how you treat me, right?
Yeah.
Golden rule.
Yeah.
Y'all forgot that golden rule, MAGA, because y'all be talking about how Christian you are, but I don't know that Jesus Christ would be approving of the actions that you guys approve of. I'm looking at you, bleach blonde, bad built butch body. I know that's a lot harder to say than MTG, but I don't give a shit. That is some hilarious. Jasmine Crockett, snaps to you, girl. That is the best. That almost is better political slogan than yes we can. That to me is that is a good slogan, and it's also a good vocal warm up. It is bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Like I say it now before the show. I'll do it before my set. I'll say that shit and make myself laugh with little Jasmine Crockett, and then I'll do my set and because she is Crockett 28 for me, man. She's I'm down. Let Ocasio-Cortez and Crockett 28. I don't give a fuck who's running what, but give me those two beautiful, progressive, smart women to run for president. Oh, and they're young too. Actually, don't give me no more young people. Y'all treated me with, because we are wasting a great opportunity to just have Obama run until he can't run no more. Run him until he's as old as Biden. We could do that shit. We could FDR Obama. That's what we should do. That would be my call. Just chill with the drone shit, and then get you a third term, Obama. Come on.
We can just have Michelle run. No, I want Michelle to run. I think it'll be fun to have.
See, and when they were talking about replacements, if there was anybody in the world that could do it and would whoop them, that's the person right there. if Michelle was like, if Biden said, I'm not able to do this, and then Michelle came out the door and said, when they go low, we go high.
Yeah.
And then Barack comes out and says, yes, we can. And then since we go to the Democratic National Convention, I jump out and say, it's all like Voltron, motherfuckers, let's go.
And then they're like, we'll have to escort you out, but thank you for the enthusiasm, Mr. Erick.
Yeah, I'd be like, thank you so much for your enthusiasm, but you can go home. You go to the comedy plex instead of screaming that shit on stage. But I guess you go on viral, so it's good. I just want my viral moment one time.
They still see it.
Like if we go to the DNC, that is all I'm trying to do is get a viral moment. We're gonna find a viral moment. There's gonna be something. I don't know what it is. Whether it's salsa dancing with Andrea Ocasio-Cortez or, stepping in Chicago with Jasmine Crockett. I'm gonna do something. We're gonna do something in the DNC if we go. I'm gonna do something crazy.
There you go. Still working on it.
Oh man, but shout out to Jamal Bowman, man. He lost his primary. I'm sad about that because I like that guy.
Oh man.
Yeah. But see, we stay steady on politics, man. You see how many different politicians have I referenced this and different court cases and all these different things. I don't know how I even remember all this shit with the weed I smoke.
Maybe that helps. Maybe there's a connection there. Maybe you do a case study on that. Like, how come this comes up with your system and then the system? So I don't know.
I don't know, man. I'm not sure. But you can tune into the Canacuya podcast, my other podcast with Mitch Narito, which is a new episode every Wednesday, and we can talk about that there because I'm trying to keep this as as not as cannabis free necessarily, but only cannabis every once in a while. Whereas on Canacuya, it's cannabis all the time. So we could talk about that on the Canacuya podcast rather than here.
I need to stop you right there. There's a segue I was trying to do earlier, but we kept talking. But I do need to say that I got I'm I don't know if you want to say closeted fanboying, but the fact that you and Mitch are so close, every time I bring up the podcast or something, like I have to bring up that your other co-host is Mitch Narito because my wife and I are big fan. Well, personally, I'm just a big fan of Mike Schur and everything he does. But the fact that like your co-host is Donkey Doug from Good Place, don't tell him I said this, but I know it's already going to be out there. But
yeah, you're gonna tell him when he listens to this because he listens to this podcast.
It just tripped me out when I first saw how connected you were, even before the podcast. But I was like, is that Donkey Doug? And like, I only knew him from that. But then we got to talking this weekend, and someone was like fanboying over Manny Jacinto because he's on Acolyte. And
shout out to Acolyte, homie. He's the first evil Jedi. No. He's an evil Sith. Because remember, I got the joke where I'm gonna be the first Filipino Jedi. So I'm gonna be his rival. It's cool. This is all good.
Yeah.
We're
there you go. He's already said
it is still intact, but I already said in my new special that I've decided instead, because the trajectory of this franchise is I should be the first Filipino Mandalorian.
There you go.
And you take off the helmet, and then this is the way. Oh, you see?
Yeah. No, you don't even say that, right? It wasn't part of your joke, or you had said one of your jokes was like you just get out and you just point with your lips.
Yeah, well, yeah.
There's a way.
I could lift shit up with my lips instead of my hand. It was doing, yeah. Anyway, oh, it was a trip from yesterday, man. Shout out to this dude. I didn't get his name, but at Ube World, there was this cat who came up to me after the show, and he started quoting. He was like, "I wear Jordans every day now too, and I wear Jordans." And he's like, "Are you wearing Jordans today at the show?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I showed him the Jordans I was wearing. He's like, "Awesome! I love that joke, by the way." And I was just like quoting in my jokes back to me from Miscellaneous. It was a trip. It was really cool, nice. But he didn't buy a shirt, so that was disappointing. It's okay. I'm kidding. It's all good. No, but man, we talked about a lot of shit today. We did. We talked about it.
They're getting longer and longer. Yeah, these episodes are getting long because of all the stuff we're talking about. But I think once you decided, hey, if we can hit the 3 Ps in each episode, I think that gives us some direction. But politics, pop culture, and Filipino. I mean, we've just been on it for all those, and they intertwine. Sometimes they don't, but at least we can segue, and it's just been fun. Especially the last episode with Kyla. like she was all three of them, like right. And so all this has been was super fun. But yeah, shout out to Mitch Narito because he came up when somebody was asking if I had seen Manny Jacinto, and then we started talking about The Good Place because someone was like, "Oh, is he from some other show?" We're like, "Yeah, The Good Place. He was, so and so." And then it's like, "What about the other guy who played his dad?" I was like, "Oh, you mean Mitch Narito, who I'm one person removed from?" And they're like, "No way!" I was like, "Yes, yes, he's on the other podcast with my co-host, and he's just so funny." So like, you just shout out to him, and hopefully one day I get to meet him, or
Oh, you definitely gonna get to meet Mitch, man. Especially if we're gonna do an event in October, I'm sure we'll figure out a way to have Mitch come up too.
Oh man,
we'll figure
that'd
that
be
out.
awesome. He's so funny. He's so funny in that show. And I think, and I don't know if you can confirm this, but isn't he like younger than Manny? But he played his dad, or at least they're like the same age, and they made him like hella old.
I don't want to ruin his bit, but he's got a joke about that where he's he's not very much older than Manny at all. He shouldn't have been playing his dad, but Hollywood believed that he should have. So, bro, he'll take the check. It's all good. I don't care if you think I'm look old. If you want me to be Manny Jacinto's dad, and you think I might have manufactured that jawline, Jesus Christ, let's do it. I mean, come on. I'm actually old, but I was joking with Mitch because I'm like, I'm actually old enough to play Manny Jacinto's dad. For real. Like I got the grays, and I'm 50. Mitch is just gonna be, I think he's 38, 39. So he's not even, and Manny's like 35. So
okay, so not much
older. No, I could have actually fathered Manny Jacinto. I'm gonna put that rumor out there.
Yeah, you
Manny
should.
Jacinto's my son. He's my son.
Yeah.
My unclaimed son.
Yeah. You as Ernie Reyes Jr. fathered Manny Jacinto, and so
correct. Correct.
All of the above.
That's what happened. That's why he's mixed. Is because I didn't that the lady that I hooked up with that night that thought I was Ernie Reyes Jr. was really me, and that was the mother of Manny Jacinto.
Yeah,
that's a new Filipino American conspiracy here from Miscellaneous and Brown.
Yeah,
that's a new one.
Yeah, the same
we
way
talked
that
about who was better, Dante Bosco or Ernie Reyes Jr. last episode. Now we talk about how I'm actually Manny Jacinto's dad. I'm gonna put that out there, QAnon style.
Can we get both of them on the show? That'd be awesome.
Actually, that would be great. But I'll say now that you say it, now I'm gonna get Mitch on the show.
There you go. Oh man,
because he'll do the show right away, and because Mitch was on, and Mitch has been on the podcast already. He was on the Culture Vulture episode, and the thing about I'm going to say this, and let's close the podcast out with this because I'd love to close it out on Mitch because I spent a lot of my career thinking that I could do it by myself. And the one thing that Mitch taught me is that there is nothing like having a good friend that got your back. And I'm not talking about like a real, got your back, because I mean, I'll just be full disclosure, man. I'm unemployed. All I'm doing is a podcast. I got no income coming in right now. And we had a show in San Diego yesterday and, kakahiya. I didn't want to eat after the show because I couldn't afford to eat. I just want to go home. And Mitch is like, no, man, I got you. Don't even trip. And I'm like, I don't like to, ask for favors or do that shit. But it's like, man, we're friends. You don't count that shit because I know you're going to get me one day and then we're going to get, so I value Mitch's friendship so much. I value your friendship so much. I value all these relationships so much now, especially as I get older in my career and my circle gets smaller because I only like to have people around me that I like having around me. And I enjoy having around me and enjoy being around me. So and Ube World was certainly like almost an encapsulation of all of that because it was like Chicago and California mixed together. And it was a little bit because of me, but it was more because of the connections that I made because of connecting all these people together and this wonderful family we've now built, that can do comedy all across the country. It's wonderful. So, man, I owe a lot of that to Mitch because I wouldn't be able to build it without him, because, we had a bet when we went with Chicago because he's very humble when it comes to like people recognizing him and, because he's a very recognizable person because the Good Place is like the #1 rewatched sitcom on streaming. Really, it is. And so people watch that show all the time. It's a great show. And, you know, people come up to him all the time, but we had a bet. He was like, I bet you when we're in Chicago, no one will even come up to me. And I'm like, all right, let's bet. You bet. Let's bet. I don't even know. I just like a gentleman's bet. I don't think it was anything about it, right? They're just a bet. Let's just bet. And we're walking right in Wrigleyville, and it's St. Patrick's Day in Chicago. So we're in Wrigleyville, St. Patrick's. Oh, it's hustle bustle. Everybody's drunk and happy, and we're having beers and just enjoying, and this drunk guy goes, oh my God, it's Donkey Doug. And he basically attacks him. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm meeting the Filipino leprechaun on St. Patrick's Day. It's the good. He's going off. And then I just walked away and I whispered to Mike and I go, I win.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. And to be honest, man, each time somebody does come up to him, it feels so good, man. It feels so good for anybody. It felt great for the guy to quote the joke to me back last night. It feels so good to be acknowledged for your work, and people, if they enjoy your work, they tell you about it. That shit feels so. It can't not feel good, if you are, humble and in your craft, and you depend on these people who like your work to, really, that's the only way it works and thrives, is if these people who like your work share it and do it, and review it and like it and share and subscribe and support and do all these things. If you don't have those people, you don't really have anything. So, it's really nice when people do that. And it's really nice when people could do that for this podcast. You see that segue where you should write a review. You should make a comment if you agree or disagree with what we're talking about here on, because I'm about to upload this to the 1-2 Productions on YouTube. So please subscribe to that YouTube channel and then like it. And I always put explicit. I list it as explicit over 18 because I swear a lot. You don't swear at all, but I swear so much that I feel like it would make us explicit, and I don't even want to fight with the algorithm. So I just go ahead and put it explicit, because when you don't list it explicit, then it analyzes the words you say and it flags it, and then you get a flag on your account. So I'd rather just list it as explicit and just from jump and be like, yo, we're a comedy podcast where we talk like adults. It's cool. Grow up, YouTube and the YouTube algorithm. But in support of the YouTube algorithm, comment, like, and subscribe. Or if you're listening to this on the audio version, please follow us on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify and give us a 5-star review and rate us and review us and write a review, because the more reviews that you write, the better off we are. I don't think we have any reviews yet on Apple Podcasts, and I don't check Spotify because I don't really mess with it. I stayed to Apple Podcasts only because they are definitely a better pay structure for artists. So for me, I know that Spotify is easier or whatever, but I'm always about the artist, regardless of what it is. So that's kind of how I roll. So I'm on Apple, so I'm always on Apple. So if you follow us on Apple Podcasts, I'll see the review, and then I'll send you a Kanakuya t-shirt or a miscellaneous brown hat if you write a review. Maybe not a miscellaneous brown hat; those are an expensive item. Maybe a miscellaneous brown pin or something. We'll see what happens. But write a review, and I'll send you some free shit. We'll see what happens. But I'm Erick Esteban, and this is Miscellaneous Brown. This has been a Monday Miscellaneous and Brown with my homie and cohort, co-writer Chris Mateo, and we'll be here every Monday. But I will be probably uploading the audio of this episode today on Apple, but I'll also be uploading the video to YouTube. And then, but this Friday, if everything goes well, tomorrow, because I'm meeting with them on Zoom. Next Friday, I'll be interviewing the mayor and vice mayor of Burbank, and that will be the next episode. So stay tuned for more on Miscellaneous Brown with local politics and local politicians and the presidential election and pop culture and the 3 Ps, like you just coined, huh? What'd you say? What was the 3 Ps again?
Politics, pop culture, and Filipinos.
Boom. There you go. Miscellaneous and Brown and the 3 Ps. What's funny is that's the same as Pun Clip Friday. That was a sketch show I was on.
Oh,
I always didn't really like that name. It was kind of corny sounding to me. So I like your 3Ps better than their 3Ps. Let's just say
it's worked for us. It's worked for us. So yeah, let's embrace it. Lean into it.
we gotta add one more P.
What's that?
Progressive, baby.
There you go.
Progressive politics, pop culture, and
Filipino.
Filipinos.
What if it was a progressive Filipinos talking about politics and pop culture?
We could go another hour just trying to determine the name. So let's let the audience go. And we'll figure it out for next week.
There you go. There you
All
go.
right, brother.
All right,
See you
guys.
soon.
Thanks a lot.
See you guys soon. Thank you for listening.